Alright, I'm testing out a new microphone as well. That looks pretty decent. We're going to go with that. Building the race sled now. So by sled, I'm assuming you're talking snowmobile, right? Alright. Hello everyone, welcome to Challenge to Build and Challenge to Build Live. For those of you watching, I am live on TikTok and I'm also recording a video for YouTube. So this live stream will be uploaded to YouTube hopefully within 24 hours or so. I am experimenting with new ways of content. So working with the live stream I think creates a really good atmosphere for some content on YouTube. So that's kind of how I've been playing around with it lately over the last week or so. In this video, it is going to be part 2 of installing the Airlift 3H manifold system. I started this project yesterday. I did a little bit of prelim work this morning by cutting some rubber spacers for up underneath the manifold. Got them drilled out. I got my plate cut yesterday. You can kind of see the layout. I kind of have everything centered up to where the manifold system is going to go. So I'm going to get ready to drill some holes in this, so this way here I can mount the air manifold. And then I also have 4 of my spacers cut and threaded already. So this way here it's kind of like an assembly day today. And if we're lucky, I will be able to get it mounted up underneath the truck today. All right, so Brandon K39, what would you use to clean up under a car that has a little surface rust on the floor pans and to paint it gloss black? So a couple of months ago, I sort of did something similar to my wife's Suburban, and I used 220 sandpaper, 220 grit sandpaper, a wire brush, a scraper because it was pretty bad. And then I just went with straight Rust-Oleum gloss black. So it all depends on how bad it is, right? Surface rust you can generally hit with like a wire wheel or a wire brush. You can sand it off, 220 grit, it's underneath the car, so you can use a little bit more of an aggressive sandpaper so you don't have to work as hard getting it off. And then as far as the paint, I've had really good success with just using straight Rust-Oleum. If you're looking for a budget-wise, if you're looking for more of a higher-end finish, maybe try to find like a single-stage gloss black, or you could go with like a POR 15. I know Eastwood sells a lot of products for that sort of thing, depending on your location and where you can get your materials. So there's a few options for you. Working on a 74 Nova. Awesome. And just so you know, the content that I'm filming live on TikTok will be uploaded to YouTube as well. So I'm going to kind of use it as like a question and answer kind of vibe. So welcome to the YouTube channel as well. And for the Suburban project, if you go back in through my profile, and even on YouTube, there's a couple videos of me doing the undercoating and frame rust repair on the Suburban. So I used a product called Seal too. It's a neutralizer. So you can kind of check that stuff out as well. My wife's Suburban project was a huge undertaking, and I have a complete series set up in a playlist on my YouTube channel outlining that whole entire project. quarter panel rust repair, undercoating, lift kit, front end conversion, a crazy huge project that was kind of unexpected, but that's what happens when you get involved in a project. No problem, buddy. Lots of information out there. Lots and lots of information. So now if I did everything correctly, I got my plate drilled out. I have 1 inch by 4 inch, ½ inch thick rubber washers that I cut. So they're going to get installed like so. The air manifold system mounts with 5/16 bolts, and I have the hole drilled out on my plate at 3/8 of an inch to give me a little bit of wiggle room with the bolt. So this way here I shouldn't have any issues mounting it up. Something like that. So then this is what the mounting looks like for the air manifold. I got the ½ inch rubber in between the manifold and the plate. This way here it kind of isolates any possible vibration that you would get from just normal road driving conditions. Now what I'm going to do is mount the spacers that I have cut onto the back side of the plate. And this way here, once I drill the holes in the frame, I'll be able to mount this onto the frame rail, and eventually I'm going to make a cover, like a little cover box, to be able to mount over this to protect this from road grime and any kind of moisture or weather that would get thrown up in the area. So that's the next process for me. Put it together to take it apart. I wonder how many times I'm going to take it apart and put it together before it's finally installed. It'll work beautifully. You just never know when you're going to need the small magnet clamps. So for those of you who have been following me for a while, you know that I'm plagued by power. I don't have enough power in my shop to run my heavy equipment. So when I go to weld, I have to weld off my generator. So that's what you hear in the background. So safety first, gloves, helmet. If you have your safety gear while watching, I would recommend putting it on because I'm getting ready to weld. It's kind of a joke. That's basically what it's going to look like. So I'm going to go change some things up. I'm going to get you under the truck with me, move the cameras. We're going to test fit this before I weld all these into position to make sure this fits the way that I want it to. Once we do the test fit, then I'll bring it back up and finish fully welding everything. And then the next step will be to drill the holes in the frame rail for this piece. That'll work beautifully. Alright, the test fit is good, so I'm going to go take it and fully weld everything. And the Astro Dog, I remember who you are. Yes, thank you. Thank you for the support also. This live stream will be available on YouTube as an upload within 24 hours as well. So I'm kind of experimenting with a lot of different ways of the filming process. So you're kind of a part of that. So thanks for tuning in and hanging out with me. Now I have the spacers welded to the plate. It was test fit, everything fits pretty good. I'm going to let this cool down and then we're going to go for mounting this onto the truck. So anyway, all I'm doing is using the cardboard as a template, and I'm going to just take a rubber mallet. Make a couple indentations on the cardboard. Then I'm going to center punch in the center of the indents and then use this as a template for the frame as far as where I'm going to drill the holes. Here we go, that's what I'm looking for. Ouch. So using the same theory that I used on the plate, I used 5/16 bolts, but I drilled the plate to 3/8 to give me a little bit of movement within the bolt, so that way I wouldn't have to fight it. I'm using 7/16 bolts to mount this to the frame. Same theory, I'm going to drill a 1/2 inch hole in the frame, so this way here it gives me a little bit of movement within mounting the plate. So this way here I don't have to fight it. let's see here. At the cab mount, make sure when you're drilling through the frame, there's nothing on the back side either. I know there's a wiring harness back there that I'm going to have to move. One, sorta. What I'm going to do is step it up from a 5/16 to a 1/2 inch, so this way here I don't have to fight drilling so many, fight drilling such a large hole in the frame. So now I'm going to go ahead for a trial fit up. I'm going to have to get creative on drilling these top 2 holes because I won't be able to fit the drill in on the back side drilling through. But what I am going to do is go ahead and do a test fit for the plate. See how we're doing here. And unfortunately, that didn't work at all. So the problem that I have now run into is what I should have done is take my cardboard template that I had and put it on the inside of the frame, because now the spacers that I welded to the back of the plate, the bottom ones are too high up. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm actually going to have to cut the back spacers off this plate and move them down, so that way I can at least use the 2 bottom holes that I just drilled. And I have to be careful because I have a whole bunch of brake lines and fuel lines right here. So, if at first you don't succeed, try again. But that's frustrating. But we're learning. Yeah, that's not going to work. But I think it's important that we show our mistakes as well, because who's perfect? I thought I had it. I just didn't have my cardboard mounted up high enough, because another thing that's going to be kind of messing this up is because of how heavy this frame is and how it's bent. That radius in the quarter bend kind of distorts where the hole is. So thankfully, a simple solution for me is just to cut the spacers off and weld them down at the bottom of the plate, and then I will take the measurements that I need to not make the same mistake twice and drill the holes in the top of the frame from this side very carefully, because like I said, I got brake lines and fuel lines right there. So back to the drawing board. So the easier way to do something like this would be to mount the spacers and then weld the plate on, install everything and build it in the location that it is. But unfortunately in this location, it's almost impossible to do that. So, and I wouldn't even do that anyway because of the fuel lines right there. Nah, the connection issue's on my end, buddy. As a matter of fact, because of the little mess up that I have here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end this live stream and then try to reconnect and come back to it here in a little bit. So for those of you who watched on TikTok, thank you for watching, and I will be back at it here very shortly. So catch me in a little bit. I'm going to try to re-establish my connection and try to fix that so that way it's a little bit better. So challenge to build out for a few minutes. Alright, so I want to welcome you back to part 2 of the live stream. I was live earlier in the day. The reason for a 2-part live stream today is I went to go install the mounting plate for the Airlift 3H system, and I went to drill 2 of my holes, and 2 of my holes do not line up with the plate that I made. My spacers are too centrally located on the plate, so I have to cut 2 of them off and re-weld them and try to fit it again. So that's kind of where we're picking up at this point in today and in the video. And that loud Astro is doing some work on his project as well. Good deal. It is a beautiful day. Happy Labor Day weekend to all of you who are celebrating. Hopefully you have had a good 3-day weekend. For anybody that thought I was perfect, I'm sorry to report that I am not perfect in the work that I do. What you're watching me do is correct a mistake with drilling some holes in the frame on the truck. Where I drilled the holes, I did not allow enough space. I actually didn't come up high enough. So what I'm doing to correct it is I'm actually going to drop my spacers down, so that way the holes that I drilled will work with the mounting plate that I'm working on. Well, let's try this again, right? So I'm going to go give this a test fit real quick. I'm not going to move the camera. I'm going to give it a test fit, and then if it fits well, I'll come up and finish welding it. Good news. It fits. So I'm going to finish welding it right now. For air suspension. So Awesomeness is asking, is it for horns or air suspension? And the answer is for a full air ride suspension on a 2000 Chevy Dually 3500 crew cab that I will show you right now. Firefighter DJ says, I like the mobile sign, and I made that sign as well. I bought the letters from a buddy of mine. They're the plastic letters from like the 80s-ish era, and I have them backlit as well. Alright, so the next part of the build, now that I got my spacers welded back onto the plate and I got my little mistake corrected from earlier this morning. I'm going to go back under the truck and finish drilling the last 2 holes in the frame rail. So if you get kind of like motion sickness with the camera movement, I would suggest you look away for a few minutes while I get everything set up. What's up, G-Heart67? Just so you know, I'm live streaming, obviously, on TikTok, and then this will be reposted up to YouTube in its entirety. So this is part 2 of today's live stream. I made a mistake first thing this morning, plus my connection was terrible. So hopefully my connection is a little bit better. I've really been struggling with the live stream connection over the last couple of streams, and I'm trying to resolve those issues, but I haven't had much luck. And I believe JR just kind of popped in the room there. So G-Heart says he's waiting for me to put burgers on the grill for Labor Day weekend. That was yesterday, man. All my company left already. I'm out of leverage here. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Joshua, Craig says, where are them safety glasses at? Good call. I'll get them. Good call. See, I'm listening. There. They're right there. What I got to be really careful of is not messing up with the drill bit and nicking the fuel line or the brake line. And I hear you. I know one piece of metal can ruin your day. It's happened many a times, even when you're wearing safety equipment. So what I find kind of interesting about wearing safety equipment sometimes, and I'm sure some of you can relate, is I've gotten a lot better at being safety conscious, and you guys generally see me wearing my gloves, wearing my face shield. Every once in a while you'll catch me. But even when you take safety into consideration, how much you can still manage to get stuff in your eye. It never fails. Like the way that things ricochet. Like I was wearing my face shield, I don't know, last week sometimes. And a small speck can just bounce off your shirt, not paying attention or whatever, and still get within your eye. But I find it funny, when you take safety into consideration, you still manage to get stuff in your eye. And I'm sure you are aware, is when you're drilling holes through the frames, make sure there's nothing on the back side that you would drill into. That is a serious frame right there. I'm stepping them out too, so. And the next 2 holes shouldn't be as bad. I went 5/16, 3/8, ½ inch. What a pain in the butt. Got my workout for today. Ugh. Whew. Hopefully I don't make the same mistake twice. There's one. There's two. There's three. Four doesn't line up. Gosh darn it. Did you ever have a day where nothing seems to go right? You come into it with a great plan and then it just kind of goes to shit? I feel like that's what's happening today. But I'm gonna get it. Yeah, I'm not afraid to show it, man. I think video on many levels can hide the truth. So what do they say? What does the great scholars say? To err is human, to forgive divine, right? I've made two mistakes today. Oh well. So what the problem is, I'm really struggling trying to see. So with the way that I'm trying to mount this up under the frame rail, I was able to drill the bottom two holes on the outside of the frame, which was really easy and gave me a lot of clearance. But the top two holes, I can't because the drill's not going to go high enough to the cab of the floor. So I'm trying to drill the top two holes on the inside of the frame rail, like you just watched. The problem is, I can't use my template that I made for the holes because I can't get it in up behind the brake lines. So I did try to measure them up. I put this up in place and then tried to scribe where the top two spacers were. And unfortunately, I must have misscribed where one of them was. So this one is probably a good 1/4 of an inch to the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, rather than drilling or oblong in the hole, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off and then just move it over. Hopefully, what I'll do is I'll move it over, I'll tack it, check the fitment, and then if it's in the right spot, go ahead and weld it up. Ultimately, when I try to do things like this, it's always put it together in the position that it needs to be in and then weld everything. But unfortunately, I can't really do that in that location because fuel lines, brake lines, clearance, gas tank, so the list kind of goes on. So I'm trying my best to get it in, and I am struggling today. It's hot and humid. I think over a lift, so rather than having a lift, I would maybe opt for air conditioning first. Do we agree or disagree on that? Or maybe you already have a lift and air conditioning. If so, I'm jealous. Oh my goodness. So the trick is, after you make a mistake or multiple mistakes and they continue to compound, the trick is to stay at an even keel and not let it get the best of you. So obviously, as humans, we make mistakes. We try not to repeat the same ones over and over again. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes, like you said, G-Heart, sometimes you got to walk away. So I ran into the similar situation with my front shock mount, and I've kind of talked about that in some upcoming, in some videos that I uploaded to YouTube. Is the process with the shock mount was the same thing. It took me all day to finally figure it out, all the while having to walk away 3 or 4 times just out of pure frustration of not being able to get it figured out. Sometimes my brain will tell me, well, this will be easy. You go at it, and obviously you know the story. It's not really that easy because of all the variables that you might face, and then work through them. But the reward at the end, as long as you stay persistent, even if it takes you more than 1 day, right, 1 or 2 days to work through a problem, you work through the problem, and at the end you solve it, you create whatever it is that you built, and then the satisfaction that you get from it in the victory of completing the task is well worth it sometimes. So yeah, I feel like the heat and the sweat, the humidity and stuff like that adds and compounds some of the problems. To whereas if you can stay, you know, at a standard set temperature, nice and cool, it kind of helps with that. So let me get to it. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one off, put it in a different location, and try again. And yes, I marked the one that I have to cut off and move. I did make that known. I wrote on the panel of what direction I need to move it and how much I need to move it. Connection is good. In the process of building a new shop. In the process of building a new shop. Awesome. Doing some major upgrades then. So if at first you don't succeed, try again. Bear with me. I'm going to go test fit this. I just tack welded the spacer on. We'll see if this fits and then go from there. Alright, I'm happy to report it fits. So I'm going to weld it. Unfortunately, it's not the prettiest thing to look on the backside, but I hate to say it, you won't see it. It'll be inside the frame, but the function is what I want. So clean it up, paint it, mount it, and move it on. Alright, so now the fun part. Now that I have all the hard fabrication complete, I got the holes drilled in the frame. I had to move a couple spacers. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how it kind of all goes together. I'm going to mount the manifold onto the plate and then mount the plate into its location. So I'm going to go grab the manifold and move on to the next step. The Airlift 3H manifold for the dually project. So this is pretty much the brain of the air ride suspension that I'm installing onto the dually. This is from Airlift Performance. This is their 3H system. It's a sensor-based height control module. So this has got all the solenoids in it for the air control. You got all your bag ports here with one exhaust. So everything gets plumbed into this and then wired to the controller. So this is the heart of the system, and that is what the bracket is for. So I'm going to go through the installation process of how this is going to get mounted together, and then I'm actually going to install it onto the truck and then leave it there, so that way I can continue the installation of this. Ronnie, afternoon to you. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us for a little while. I'm just working on the dually air suspension project. So another thing I did in the first part was I cut rubber isolators that are going to go between the Airlift 3H manifold and the plate. So that's basically what the manifold system looks like mounted to the plate. You can see it's isolated on the rubber mounts. You can see that it's isolated on the rubber mounts here, and then it bolts in from behind with two 5/16 bolts. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move you guys back under the truck, and then to wrap up this live stream and part 2 of the installation of the manifold, I'm going to install it onto the truck and wrap up the video. I know, Ronnie. There's the old Chevy. I've said it in the beginning from long ago. This is this project over here, the Viking project, is definitely a long-term relationship kind of project. From what I was originally going to build to what it's turned into is just far beyond what I expected. And unfortunately, with a project like that, time and money all become an aspect of that. So I will be getting back to work on this project here very soon, but as far as a priority right now, the dually is definitely priority number 1. The unexpected thing was my wife's Suburban. The wife's Suburban project definitely took up a good chunk of time too. So I try to plan accordingly, but it never works for me. I'm actually going to try to look into getting some help on the Viking project with some of the sheet metal work. I am very stubborn when it comes to asking for help. I just like to do things and tinker with myself and, you know, work on the projects. I have a specific style that I want to achieve, but I also know that I want to get it done too. So in order for me to get it done, I need help. So I'm going to reach out to a couple people that I've met through doing the live stream process to see if I can't get some help in doing some sheet metal repair, because with this project over here, so those wheels are for this dually project for one, so don't get too excited about the wheels that you see. So a lot of my success on TikTok is because of this Viking project, right? And while I'm grateful of that, I'm also trying to kind of catch a lot of different genres and aspects of challenge to build, right? It doesn't necessarily matter what we're working on. It's a matter of that we work on it and enjoy what we're doing. So for something like this project over here, while it's turned into something that was unexpected, and a lot of my success with TikTok has come from this truck, it will get done. It has turned into a massive project, and with all of the time and money that has been spent on it already to get to the point that we are at now, which unfortunately it doesn't really look like much, right? But for those of you who have been following me for a while, know how much has just gone into this as far as the fabrication and constantly changing and evolving. So now that all this time and money has been spent up until this point, I am not willing to just throw it together and let it roll out of the shop, kind of like half-assed from this point. One area that will probably be, you know, sad for some people is a lot of people really like the patina look. And while I like the patina look on certain projects, originally this was supposed to be a patina build. But again, with the time and money that has been invested into this, unfortunately it's not going to be a patina style build anymore. I want to go full on custom, but still make it drivable. It's not going to be a trailer queen by any means. So I want to get all the rust repair done. I want to paint it. I still want to go with the whole like white tuxedo kind of thing with the white and the black. I want to do the interior. So another thing from coming with TikTok is I've scrolled through a lot of TikTok videos and a lot of builders, and there are builders out there who have been working on their projects for 5, 10, even 15 years. Now, I don't want to be one of the ones that works on it for 15 years. That's not what I have in mind. I want to get it done. I want to get it out on the circuit, and I want to be able to go to different car shows and meet all the people who have supported me through the entire build. But is it going to happen within 6 months? No. Is it going to happen within a year? I don't know. Hopefully. Is my goal still to get this thing into SEMA? Yes, that's a childhood goal. That's a childhood dream that I'm going to try to hopefully achieve. As far as a timeline on this project, I try to make them, but they never stick. So there's a ton of work that needs to be done. I've rambled on, and I'm long-winded, but that kind of gives you an insight on where my mind is at for this project. We'll see. Where was I? Oh, yeah, if you get motion sickness, go ahead and look away. I'm going to move you under the truck and get this Airlift performance system mounted and wrap it up for the day. So, yeah, Ronnie, the Viking project is definitely definitely a 6-month or more project. And I do have a creeper. The problem with the creeper is the truck is not high enough up for me to feel comfortable. Plus, when it's hot and humid out, I take a page out of the my dog's book, and I actually really enjoy laying on the cold concrete floor. It helps keep me cool. And we've all used creepers to the point where you roll around and you hit like a piece of rust or a piece of metal or this crack in the floor right here. You get stuck on it, and then that just sometimes adds to the level of frustration. So it is a rather hot and humid day today, and the concrete floor is nice and cool. So other than having a stiff back in the morning when I roll out of bed, it works. So here we go. Attempt number 3. What do they say? 3rd time's a charm? I think we got it figured out, fellas. That's 1. That's 2. Let's see if I can do this with no looking, right? I think that was 3. I got to check 3. Number 4 is tricky because the cab is right there, and the way that the cab is made, there's like a piece of sheet metal that's in the way. I think I got it. There we go. All right. So the plan, once I get all the lines run, is I'm going to make a box, a sheet metal box, that I will be able to bolt to this 1/8 inch plate to cover this, and then have all the lines right here out underneath. So the plan, I'm probably gonna get some 90s and then 90 them out nice and clean, and then have like a rubber grommet set up to where it kind of like acts as a cushion clamp to hold everything nice and solid right at the base of this. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, I might actually drill another hole for the actual mount and move it up closer to the top of the frame rail, just to give me a little bit more clearance down here at the bottom. So now, while that's not necessarily a mistake, that's going to be an improvement on the original design. Now that I can physically see it together and see what I'm working with. I might just do that. But at least it's mounted, and I can continue on with the installation. Because what I do have to be careful of is with having the fuel lines and brake lines right back here, I got to make sure that however I decide to mount it, that the bolt does not chafe those lines. Right now I have about a 1/2 inch worth of clearance. So, and there's a frame mount right behind here, so it's pretty solid. Something like that. I think in part 1 of the stream, I was asking myself how many times I was going to have to take it apart. I think so far I'm at like number 3. And in relation to the creeper, rolling around on a creeper comment, I'm just glad I don't have to work on the stones and the dirt anymore, because previously I was working on the dirt and the stones outside of my shed. So I'll take it. So that's another thing that adds. So we were talking earlier today, Jeff. I made a few mistakes in mounting the panel for that Airlift 3H system. And another thing that kind of complicates and adds frustration, for those of you who will remember what we were talking about a little while ago, is all the while I was down there installing that manifold system, my video content for YouTube stopped filming. So that adds a serious amount of frustration to some of the things that I do in the garage, because the way that this works is it's sometimes generally like a one-shot deal. And now I lost a good portion of that film. So hopefully, thankfully, I was live streaming, so hopefully I will be able to compress down the live stream and get it into the video. So the content creation around Challenge the Build can sometimes be very difficult. Do it again. And my connection now is spotty as well. I've already done it 3 times, Jeff. I guess I'll do it one more time. What's one more time? Never fails. Never fails. Yeah, when I moved the camera, I bet you I bumped the screen, and I try to check and double check and make sure that I have everything running as best as I should. Yeah, you can read the sign. But it happens. You're right. You're right. I'll be a level, an expert level manifold tech by the time it's all over. Does piss me off though. Remember, I was telling you about staying cool, calm, and collected. This is how I work through it, right? Woo-sa. Yeah, because what was that? I mean, that was, I don't know. I don't even think it got me. Hopefully, it got me drilling the holes. I gotta look. I think it got all the way up to the point where I was putting it in. So that is one aspect I've found through all of the trial and error that I've been doing. Is now that I've been live streaming and filming, it's a safety. So I'm trying to, I guess, while I want my quality of what I'm trying to produce always to be as best as I can. I'm not saying that I'm trying to lower my standards per se, but just try not to stress about it too much. And over the last week or so, I've posted a lot of my live stream content, and while the video quality isn't the best, it at least gets it out there and gets people to see it and enjoy it. Maybe there's an aspect of it that they will be able to use in their build or just in life per se. So the nice thing is now I'm live streaming and I have video content, so it's kind of a safety. So I will be able to get something together. And as far as the quality, you know, I do the best that I can, and it is what it is. And from the beginning, my channel, my profile, all of the content that I produce, I try to be just legit real. I'm not trying to appeal to anybody. And if you want to watch, great. If you don't want to watch, it's as simple as swiping up on the live stream or simply just swiping past the video when you see my stuff pop up. And I've built a solid foundation of people who follow me, I think, because of that. So, and it continues to grow. So, it's a constant battle. But you guys have been following long enough to know the deal, and I'm very appreciative of that. I just do what I like to do and hit the record button and try to get it out to everybody to watch. And what's crazy is when you do that, my TikTok account, so just the other day I celebrated 45,000, right? I crossed over the 45,000 mark as far as followers. And that's another thing. I've never really, again, while I pay attention to the numbers, I don't pay attention to the numbers. I don't want you to follow me because I have 45,000 followers or 100,000 followers. I want you to follow me because of what I'm working on or the techniques that I use, or just because you think I'm funny and I screw shit up and whatever it is, right? So because of the way that I produce my content, just yesterday I celebrated 45,000. I haven't done anything different. I haven't changed the way I post things, but between the last 3 days, my TikTok account has swelled to 47,000. So I've gained like 2,000 followers just in the last couple of days. I can honestly tell you I haven't done anything different, and I don't plan on changing, but I'm very appreciative of the continued growth, and I am trying to make this a full-time job for me while working on projects, working on a dream project over here. I am trying to make this a full-time career for me, and it's very difficult. It puts a lot of strain on the family, the work environment. I don't ever want to lose the enjoyment of being able to work in my garage and work on the projects. That's why sometimes you might see me work on the Viking, and then you might not see me work on the Viking for a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months, because I'm going to work on things that I take enjoyment out of. So while the Viking for me is a love-hate relationship, this will get done. And once I get back to it, the enjoyment will be there too, which will also reflect in the quality of the work that gets produced. So Jeff, meant to ask, are you going to tub the front to tuck those diesel wheels? So I assume you're talking about the dually project. Can you clarify that? I'm assuming you're talking this project over here, the dually. Yes. All right, so here's the deal. We bought these wheels and tires, or I didn't buy. The owner of this truck bought the wheels and tires from Michael's Truck Works out of Arizona. And from the information that we gathered from him is he is able to make these wheels fit and tuck with no major modifications. What I did do is the previous owner who lowered this truck, even with the 16-inch wheels, you know the inner lip on the fender? They've already pushed that inner lip up and beat it out with a hammer. I actually have the tool from Eastwood, the inner fender roller. I'm actually going to mount the roller on there to try to push it out just a little bit farther to give a little bit of added clearance and try to smooth out some of the damage that was done previously. And also try to set the camber in just a little bit, so that way when this thing gets aired down, it'll kind of pull them tires back up and in and tuck them a little bit. In the preliminary stages of the fit up, the front wheels actually do pull up in and tuck in. This thing also needed an alignment because the alignment from left to right, looking at either side, was a little bit different. So we shouldn't really have too many problems with getting the wheels to fit up and in. But remember, this truck isn't laying frame, so we're not doing any inner wheel tub work. Hang on one second. So anyway, to answer your question, where was I? Dually wheels. What's up, Kev? Yes, you have the 20s with the 5-inch. So when this truck gets aired out all the way, he will have to, and I even told him that. So when this thing gets aired out and dropped, the wheels will end up rubbing on the inner liner. So the nice thing with the Airlift performance system is we're going to have the presets to where he will have his lowest setting and still be able to drive and not have any issues. And then when he's at such like a car show, they'll be able to drop it all the way down and be able to tuck. Now, he won't be able to drive it when it's fully laid out on the lowest setting, but with having the the presets, it'll be nice. So when he's done, he hits the button, it'll raise it up, and we'll be able to get around those kind of things. But as far as the rear clearance was just as tight, and these are fiberglass rear fenders. So I did clearance the fiberglass. I had to cut out a little bit of the lip in the fender, and I actually just posted a YouTube video about that, yesterday. So just to give it a little bit of added clearance. But listen, for everybody who is watching, that's where I'm going to wrap up today's video. Thanks for watching. This is part 2 of the installation on the Airlift Performance manifold system. So thank you for watching. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the follows, all of the likes, all of the support, all of the commentary back and forth throughout the live stream. I apologize for some of the connection as it varies back and forth. I try my best to give you guys the best connection when I'm streaming, but lately it has been a little bit difficult. So if you haven't checked out my YouTube channel, do so. Challenge to Build. And I appreciate everything, and I'm looking forward to continued growth. So enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend. Be safe. If you're drinking, drink responsibly. My name is Paul Michael. This is Challenge to Build, and I will see you all in an upcoming live stream and or video. So have a good weekend, everybody. Or, well, 3-day weekend. You get the point. I'll see you next time.